Hello, and welcome back to the US Cyber Games Fireside Chat. My name is Nathan Ord, and I am joined today by Dr. Dane Brown, one of the coaches for the US Cyber team. Without further ado, go ahead and introduce yourself, Dr. Brown.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm Dane Brown. I have been with the team for the last 3 years since it started as one of the head coaches. And I'm from the Maryland area. I kind of grew up here and went to the Naval Academy. And yeah, and I've been in cybersecurity for let's call it about 15 years.
Nice, so you've got quite a bit of experience, and I guess you've already covered where you're from. So, what is your educational background, too? I guess leading into cybersecurity.
Totally. Yeah. So my educational background. I went to the Naval Academy for undergraduate in electrical engineering, and focused most of that towards computing and so being a computer engineer. I did that for my master's as well when I went out to Naval Postgraduate School, and then I finished up my PhD a few years ago at Virginia Tech in computer engineering. So I've always kind of been, on that line between, hardware and software, liking the low level side of technology and computers. Really getting into how things work, and obviously for our needs, how things don't work. Um, so yeah, I've kind of tailored my education to that.
So, I guess with that education, where have you worked in the field of cybersecurity so far?
Yeah, so primarily I've been a professor, so I've been working at the Naval Academy and teaching there for nearly 15 years now, helping to stand up and develop their cybersecurity program. Developing two courses that all of the students there take, and back in 20 for the class of 2016, we developed a major. So since the class of 2016, we've actually had a major in cyber operations, and I've been teaching in that. Usually, generally the lower level, more technical courses. I've also tried to balance that with the career I've had on as a reservist as well in the Navy. So I've tried to maintain some operational currency with that by being with a couple of tours that I've done there, with Cyber Command and even in Central Command. So it's been it's good back and forth of seeing the academic side as well as the operational side of cybersecurity.
So I guess, with your background in education, and then also, or your background as, a low level guy, I could probably say that those are some of your passions, but what would you say your passions are when it comes to cybersecurity, and what kind of makes you tick?
For sure. Yeah, so my answer for this has changed certainly in the last few years here, right? I mean, I got into it just because I thought this stuff was really cool, right? I started programming at a young age, and I got really into computers, and all the lore about being a hacker, seemed really cool, and you kind of want to learn security and how to be able to do those things. Um, but more recently, going through the career and developing students through this, coaching cybersecurity teams, the mentorship aspect, and being able to kind of give back and contribute to the community, help it to grow and mature is really what makes me tick.
Makes sense. Love it. So prior to US Cyber Games, have you competed in other cybersecurity competitions?
Yeah, I've competed in other competitions, and for most of the time here, as I've been, when these have been popular, but been while I've been working. So I've been a coach for the Naval Academy team for many years now, and obviously for the cyber games teams since the beginning. But yeah, before that and around that, I was just having fun competing in as many CTFs as possible on things that came up, and using that in the classroom as much as I could. One of the things that I love about it as well is how good of a learning tool CTFs are. So yes, there's solving the thing during the competition, but there's also, hey, bringing it back the next week and kind of going over the intricate details of it, and kind of like highlighting something interesting for your students to gain from.
So I guess with that too, what makes you excited about the US Cyber Games in particular, since you've gotten so involved?
I think the opportunity of what the U.S. Cyber Games could become is what makes me most excited. There's um, a lot of things that gain a lot of popularity throughout, and obviously, like esports have been big over the last few years, and doing things online, streaming competitions, whether it be on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, have been really popular. And for an area that I'm passionate about, where developing people with this skill set is really important. Being able to do that here with cybersecurity um, and kind of inspire the next generation, right? Bring some students along who maybe they didn't know, what this was or what it is about, and be able to see, uh, you know, just really bright, talented young people that are doing something that they could be doing, and then getting into it. Um, yeah, I think that that's what excites me the most, right? And being able to just develop that pipeline of just really amazing cyber talents over the next few years.
So I guess as you kind of led into it a little bit, what are you hoping to see or looking forward to in season 4 of US Cyber Games? What's coming up that you're looking at? It's like, oh, that's going to be exciting, or something you're hopeful for.
Yeah, I mean, for me, mainly it's growth, right? Growth for the team. We've seen the team improve and get better season after season. Obviously, number one would be a W, right, for Team USA, and bring home the gold. But each aspect of this is exciting. When the team gets together, seeing them, prepare and kind of mature in how we're developing and preparing for the different competitions. Those things are awesome, right? Seeing new talent come into the team, seeing young students get excited about this and want to join the team. They've known about it, heard about it. That's where I thought this would start, and as that just kind of expands more, I think it's just going to be, even lead to better results for our team.
So are you saying this year might be the year?
I mean, I'm no prognosticator. But, I'm hopeful. I'm always hopeful. I'd love it this year. Um, I think we have as great a shot as we've had. So definitely optimistic.
We'll see what happens. So I guess, yeah, as you've mentioned a little bit too, um, what what's it like having been involved for with the US Cyber team for this long, for what, 2+ seasons, basically since the inception, correct?
Since inception, yeah. Yeah, it's been a ride. When I saw it, I saw the way that what it was advertised to be, and I said, "Hey, this is great. This is something that we need." But like just with everything else, there's growing pains, and it was a new thing, and people didn't know exactly what it was, or how to interact with it, or um, why to be involved. There's personality, that all have different expectations, right? So kind of working with the coaches and the staff, and just trying to create a positive culture and get a collective vision of kind of how we can move forward as a team and be successful and make it a win-win for everybody. Um, yeah, I mean that's been our main focus.
Makes sense. And with all those years of growth and development, I'm sure you've had a lot of really cool experiences, especially with travel, going around the world for different things and different competitions. So, in particular, do you have any favorite memories of US Cyber teams past or seasons past?
Yeah, I have a lot of favorite memories, right? I mean, we're the global travel team for cybersecurity, and we've gotten to kind of travel the world to do this, right? To go to these competitions, which is just amazing. So yeah, I mean, even in the first season, now most of our going abroad has been to Europe, which not complaining about. We've gone to Vienna, we've gone to Greece, right? I think teams going to Italy this year. But we'll also get to go to South America as a team coming up at the end of the year. And I think there's a competition coming up in Japan, certainly on the women's side. And I'm excited to see that develop as well, even though that's not necessarily part of this particular interview. I like to see that expansion of what we're doing with the brand. But yeah, I mean, that's I don't think I'll forget that moment, in Greece, right? When we kind of showed up, and most of us were actually meeting each other face to face for the very first time, right? So we'd been a team for several months for in season one, and when we show up to Greece for the competition, and we get to actually put a face to all the handles, and and have the team have a chance to actually gel, right? Get to know each other and have some camaraderie, and learn a little about teamwork and how to be a team. So you know all that set in in Athens, one of the most beautiful places on earth. It was a very memorable experience.
It's funny that you and Austin have a very similar answer, at least, similar discussion there, because I'm not sure it's going to make the cut, but we talked about a long discussion about Greece. So a lot of fun
Yeah.
to see that consistency there. I guess rolling right into the final thing about US Cyber Games with the good memories and the growth and everything in mind. You've seen all this. So why should people get involved with the US Cyber Games? What is your like bullet point elevator pitch sort of deal to say, hey, come do this?
It's the future, and it's about the future, right? So it's getting new people involved, right? I feel like this is going to be one major way of getting young people excited about careers in this field, right? Where problems are hard, right? We have hard challenges to solve, and making them fun, putting them in this kind of game atmosphere, getting people intrinsically motivated to try to attack these problems, is just amazing, right? And if we can show that this is interesting, show that there's an amazing community around it and behind it, I think there's no limit on the growth and potential for our next generation in this field.
If you don't mind too, I want to ask a little bit of a follow-up on that. As an
Yeah.
educator, you have a unique perspective on using CTFs not only for like learning and development outside the classroom, but inside the classroom as well. And I don't know if you've like integrated that stuff into lessons and whatnot, but I was curious if you had a perspective on that that you could mention or talk about.
I have. Um, how long do you want this interview to go on for? Um, yeah,
I mean, we got another 10 minutes.
yeah. I've been using CTFs in the classroom for quite some time, right? As soon as I found the educational value of doing it with the team, and the fact that, hey, we're not just solving problems, we're learning concepts, and we're learning concepts that are important. And a lot of times um, the things that you would overlook, that you wouldn't necessarily focus on, right? That's where the places where bugs lie. There's things that people don't understand about things that you would have otherwise thought you understood, right? Here's a program I use every day, but you've never used that feature over there, right? And having CTFs as the kind of impetus to look in places where you wouldn't look before, right? To go do research that you wouldn't have researched before, right? Is a real game changer, right? And in a fun and engaging way. So I've created a couple of elective classes at least around the concept of working through CTFs and having a base of knowledge where you go and solve challenges that you haven't seen before. But also, in my other classes, I usually let it be something that's either like extra credit or what I call an engagement portion of my class, where I say, hey, here's the CTF coming up this weekend that's meant for beginners, something that's fun, and I just kind of throw it out there and give my class the opportunity to get involved. And you'd be surprised. I'd see at least a couple of people each time get really into it, put a lot of points on the board and say, man, that was awesome. Well, when can I do something like that again? And, then you can point them to CTF time or invite them to the team, right? It's just a great way to kind of recruit um, and get people engaged in the field.
I mean, that makes total sense to me, and that's aligns with what I've seen with CTFs and used them before in class as well. So, love
Yeah,
to see it elsewhere. The other question I have, I guess, along those lines, if you've got the time for it,
yeah, yeah.
um, is as an educator and not specific to cybersecurity, do you see this model working elsewhere? This gamification, I feel like, enables people to be engaged and do more nonlinear thinking than they traditionally would in a classroom. So do you see the CTF model working elsewhere and lining up with a bit what I've said?
Thank you for teeing that up for me, Nathan. I could not agree more. That's actually um, so aligned with how I view CTFs. I mean, yes, they're great for security, but the engagement factor can help you learn anything, right? Math, science. You could throw basically any kind of challenges into a Jeopardy style um, thing that's on CTFD, right? There's nothing about a CTF competition that has to specifically be towards cyber geared problems. So, which is why, as you've seen, I don't know if you saw what I put out last year, but in one of the more recent competitions, the problem that I put out was really a probability um, problem, right? I had a door dilemma problem that was based on the Monty Hall problem from Let's Make a Deal, where you statistically had to figure out, hey, what's the smartest of the three doors that I want to open, right? That's not necessarily a security thing, but I could have you reverse engineer the logic behind what was going into it, and then when all is said and done, after you solve the problem, you've learned about this Monty Hall problem that's classic in probability. Right, so it's something I think can extend to any subject, and I'm certainly trying to make folks aware of that.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing that sort of model get applied elsewhere. And basically, it boils down to, as bad or as good as it sounds, kind of tricking people into learning, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in my opinion. I think that just about does it for us here. I don't have any other questions. Do you have any final closing thoughts, comments, anything that you'd want to get out there?
No, that's awesome. Mainly what I had to say, just encourage people to, get out there, play CTF, try something, right? Fail and learn, and keep doing it.
Love it, love it, love it. Fail and keep learning, keep trying. But yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate it.